Tonight, Team Canada rises in rugby, scoring silver on the pitch in Paris. How the women impressed the world during a gutsy game. And still, no swimming in the Seine. Pollution postpones competition. Israel goes after a Hezbollah commander in Beirut.
He was a senior terrorist who has the blood of Israelis.
The rising rebuke in Venezuela, the ongoing outcry over an election. And residents on the run from wildfires in the west.
We're evacuating all the people with the highest health priorities.
The rain reduces the risk in BC as Alberta assesses the damage done in Jasper. Plus, eyes on the skies for a solar storm.
There's a very good chance we're going to see some good northern lights tonight.
The stars collide for a dazzling display.
CTV National News with Omar Sachedina. Reporting tonight, Mirella Fernandez.
Good evening. Team Canada struck silver today at the Paris Olympics. Even before making it to the podium, the women's rugby 7 stunned spectators, upsetting Australia. Then they amazed in the final against New Zealand. CTV's Scott Hurst tonight has the highlights from day 4 of the Games.
An historic feat for the Canadian women's rugby 7s team, silver medalist at Paris 2024. The first time ever the team has competed for gold, falling to the reigning Olympic champion, New Zealand. They put a scare into the Kiwis, however, with Canada leading in the first half, but New Zealand held on for gold. Lots of attention on the Canadian women's artistic gymnastics team, finishing in 5th place.
It was insane just being out there, especially with the crowd, because they were going wild.
It's the first time Canadian women have made it to the final round since London 2012.
I'm just really glad that I was able to go out there and show what I can do and hit my routines.
But it was the powerhouse Americans led by superstar Simone Biles who took the top spot. The first gold for Biles at these Olympics, of course, looking to rebound after pulling out of certain events during the previous Olympic Games to focus on her mental health. The Canadian men's basketball team on the Olympic stage for the first time in 24 years, proving they belong under the bright lights of international competition, beating Australia to go 2-0 so far. It's not official just yet, but they're in the driver's seat to qualify for the quarterfinals. On the clay court of Roland Garros, Felix Auger-Aliassime is moving on to the round of 16 with a dominating win over his German opponent, while fellow teammate Leylah Fernandez lost to Angelique Kerber, eliminated in the 3rd round of Paris 2024. After double gold and bronze yesterday, one more medal today. That brings our total medal count to 6. 2 gold, 2 silver, and 2 bronze. Mirella?
Scott, thanks for that. A sports tribunal in Paris is expected to share a decision tomorrow on whether to return 6 points to the Canadian women's soccer team. The deduction came after a member of the coaching staff was caught spying on Team New Zealand with a drone. 3 team staffers were sent home. FIFA also fined Soccer Canada. Athletes are waiting for another key decision on Wednesday. Bright and early, Olympic officials will determine whether the men's and women's triathlons will go ahead. The men were supposed to compete today, but the Seine River that runs through Paris was deemed too dirty for the swim. The city spent billions of dollars trying to clean it up for the Games, but as CTV's Jean-Vier Beauchemin tells us, it may be money down the drain.
Before dawn tomorrow, officials will pore over test results and make the call. Will a historic day finally play out on the Seine? Today, they ruled bacteria levels were still, slightly they say, above safe limits for the men's triathlon.
We know that the sun and the heat have a very strong impact on the quality of the water, and that's why we feel, because we are so close this morning, that we can, hopefully believe that tomorrow morning the water quality will be better.
Now, both the men's and women's triathlon events are set for tomorrow. But after Paris invested billions and years into decontaminating the Seine, whether those will go ahead depends on the Paris weather. Heat and sun are golden. Rain increases the flow and flushes bacteria into the river. There is a risk of storms in the forecast as an Olympic heat wave rages for now. Temperatures shot up to 35 degrees Celsius today. This sent fans looking for clean water to drink and cool off.
On souffre un peu de la chaleur.
We're suffering from the heat a little, says Florence Pastor, but we're enjoying Paris water from these beautiful fountains.
Ces magnifiques fontaines.
There are about 100 of these Wallace water fountains in Paris, and they're just about as iconic as the Seine.
They were donated by Englishman Richard Wallace, who lived in Paris 150 years ago, to provide free drinking water to working-class Parisians. As Paris retooled historical structures for the games, they did so with these fountains too, adding a misting feature. This will also prepare the city for the more intense and frequent heat waves climate change brings. As they drink from the fountain from this Paris water, these fans say they hope the Olympic swims in the Seine will be part of the story of these games.
This is what it's all about, these Olympics in Paris. It's, mixing sports and very old, buildings, history. So, yeah, the Seine is part of that. So, yeah, I think it's going to be great.
Officials say the priority is the health of the athletes, so they'll be looking closely at test results. Geneviève Beauchemin, CTV News, Paris.
We want to share an amazing photo that has gone viral of a surfer hanging in the air. Now, it looks fake, but this is Brazil's Gabriel Medina, right after scoring a 9.9 in an Olympic surfing competition in Tahiti. That's where the events are being held. The photographer is Jérôme Brouillet from Agence France Presse. He anticipated Medina's reaction to that near-perfect performance and captured the shot from the media boat. There are reports that a top Hezbollah leader has been killed in Beirut, taken out by an Israeli drone strike. Israel says it carried out a precision hit to take out the man responsible for a weekend attack in the Golan Heights that killed children. CTV's Heather Wright reports.
Smoke can be seen rising from a southern suburb of Beirut today. The Israeli drone strike hit a densely populated area near a hospital and mosque, killing at least 3 people and injuring another 35, according to Lebanon's health ministry. Israel says the strike was targeting Hezbollah's most senior military commander, who they believe ordered Saturday's attack on a soccer field in the Golan Heights that killed 12 people, mostly children.
They had to respond both militarily and politically. They've decided this time to strike Beirut, which is the headquarters of Hezbollah.
Hezbollah denied being involved in Saturday's attack, but the Iran-backed militant group and Israel have been trading strikes for months, part of a larger proxy war with Iran, which also backs the Houthis in Yemen and Hamas in Gaza. Both Israel and Hezbollah insist their fighting has been restrained. But there are concerns these latest attacks could raise the likelihood of a larger conflict.
This is disconcerting for Israelis, it's disconcerting for the international community, for Gazans, for Lebanese. This is getting dangerously close to the point of the regional war that Iran always wanted.
And the longer the war in Gaza stretches on, the more likely it is these attacks continue.
I think the focus right now is to get this deal on Gaza done as quickly as possible, because that's going to be the only guarantee that this crisis does not escalate.
Lebanon's prime minister condemned today's strike on Beirut, calling it a criminal act, while the United States expressed hope that an all-out war can still be avoided despite this latest escalation. Morella.
Heather, thank you for the update. Things are escalating in Venezuela. Protesters are keeping the pressure on Nicolas Maduro, disputing his win in a weekend vote. Election officials declared Maduro as the president again, but independent exit polls show a landslide victory for the opposition.
The people of Venezuela want the government out of power. They want Nicolas Maduro to be removed from power. They've been prevented from doing so. The Constitution has been violated over and over again. And in the meantime, the people of Venezuela have suffered the worst economic and social crisis in their history, driving millions and millions of them to flee the country.
Demonstrators took to the streets across Venezuela again today, calling on Maduro to admit defeat. At least 11 people have been killed in the violence since Sunday's vote. A quiet vigil in a small English town was disrupted by an angry crowd. A group clashed with police, even setting a van on fire outside of a mosque in Southport. They were fueled by rumors about a suspect accused of stabbing 3 young girls to death. CTV's Kathy Lee has that.
The first day of summer break. Now, a harrowing scene. People in the UK shaken.
Is what can only be described as a devastating nightmare.
In the small seaside town of Southport, northwest of England, 3 children killed in a stabbing rampage, 10 others wounded, the majority of them kids. The victims, 9-year-old Alice Aguiar, 6-year-old BB King, and 7-year-old Elsie Stancombe.
It is understood that the children were attending a Taylor Swift event at a dance school.
The suspect, a 17-year-old from Britain, arrested on suspicion of murder and attempted murder. He has yet to be charged. Taylor Swift responding to the attack, saying, "These were just little kids at a dance class. I am at a complete loss for how to ever convey my sympathies to these families." King Charles sending his heartfelt condolences, prayers, and deepest sympathies.
I know the whole country is deeply shocked at what they've seen and what they've heard.
All day, people left flowers and stuffed animals at a memorial. Later on, violence broke out at a nearby mosque. Protesters hurled bottles and rocks at police, their anger fueled by online rumors the suspect is Muslim.
There are things that are taking place on social media that go against their terms and conditions. They need to take some responsibility for that. But above all, this is about young children, and this is about children and their families who will be grieving.
That grief shared deeply with the tight-knit town as they try to come to terms with the tragedy.
Detectives are not treating the attack as terror-related and aren't looking for any other suspects, but are still searching for a motive. Kathy Lee, CTV News, Calgary.
Thousands of people are living in limbo tonight, chased out of their homes by wildfires. Evacuation orders have been issued in British Columbia and Manitoba. In Alberta, Jasper residents are waiting for the evacuation order to be lifted. CTV's BC Bureau Chief Andrew Johnson has the update on the firefight in the west.
A cluster of fires has forced more than 1,300 people out of their homes in BC's Kootenay region. 2 villages, Slocan and Silverton, are on evacuation order as firefighters work to get flames under control. But in most other areas of BC, rain has cooled off risk.
We've been fortunate to have had rain and cooler temperatures throughout much of the province over the last several days, offering much needed relief to many communities.
In Manitoba, wildfires are threatening multiple northern First Nations. 200 people from the Marcel Colum First Nation are out of their homes.
That fire is probably less than 25% contained at this time, and so we're not in a position to allow anybody back.
Close to 1,400 people from 3 other First Nations communities are also now on the move to find some relief from a hazardous haze.
We're evacuating all the people with the highest health priorities, and it's due to wildfire smoke.
Evacuees are being sent to Winnipeg, but hotels are filling up and some may end up in Brandon. In Alberta, the town of Jasper and the entire national park remain closed because of an out-of-control fire still burning nearby. Flames destroyed 1/3 of Jasper last week after more than 20,000 people were successfully evacuated from the area. Now, early plans are being laid for the rebuild.
We need to, bring in sustainable building practices and build this so that it's resistant to the next fire that might come through.
The devastation in Jasper and multiple evacuations across BC and Manitoba come as we near the halfway mark of the 2 most dangerous months of the wildfire season. Many will be hoping for an uneventful August. Andrew Johnson, CTV News, Vancouver.
In the U.S., wildfires are burning in 12 states, including Oregon, Colorado, and California, where crews are battling the 5th largest wildfire in state history. A man has been charged with arson in the Northern California park fire. It's consumed more than 380,000 acres. Now in Colorado, flames are out of control in Roosevelt National Forest. There are fears hot weather will cause it to spread. The acting head of the U.S. Secret Service says it's indefensible that a roof was not secured at Donald Trump's rally in Pennsylvania. Ronald Rowe went up to that roof to see the gunman's line of sight and evaluate how he was able to shoot at the former U.S. president.
What I saw made me ashamed. I cannot defend why that roof was not better secured.
Rowe also faulted local law enforcement for not sharing information about the gunman with the Secret Service. Trump was struck in the ear in the assassination attempt July 13th. Coming up.
Jagmeet Singh is used to getting what he wants.
The new conservative ad takes aim at the NDP, plus doubling up on a chance to see a meteor shower. The Conservatives are on the attack. The party has released a new ad that takes aim not at the Liberals, but at the NDP. The focus is on leader Jagmeet Singh. CTV's Judy Trin tonight on the timing and the tone.
Rolex watches, BMWs, Versace bag.
A new conservative attack ad takes personal swipes at Jagmeet Singh to appeal to working-class voters the NDP historically champions.
Traditional supporters who are maybe a little more blue collar in terms of their work, or private sector union folks, they're not really the Rolex and Gucci shoe crowd. The NDP under Singh have really lost the script, and when it comes to speaking to those voters.
No, you're okay, perfect. The ad was launched just 2 days after federal by-elections in Quebec and Manitoba were announced. In ridings, the NDP have a good shot at winning. Singh was off to a fast start, campaigning in the Montreal constituency on Monday.
The Conservatives want to cut and gut the services you need, and have been in power in this minority government, have been elected as well, haven't done anything.
Who's ready to fix the budget?
Over the weekend, Pierre Poilievre rallied supporters in Winnipeg. For nearly 3 decades, the riding of Elmwood-Transcona belonged to the NDP, but this time there is no incumbent running. Earlier this summer, when the Liberal stronghold of Toronto-St. Paul's turned blue, it showed there are no more safe seats.
By-election.
This NDP strategist says an ad attacking Singh shows Conservatives are worried.
The Conservatives are attacking New Democrats. Why? Because right now they see New Democrats as a threat. And frankly, right now, the Conservatives know that Canadians want change. And the choice for Canadians is between New Democrats and Conservatives.
Strategists expect the NDP to counter with their own attack ad, and the tone could get even more heated as the September 16th by-election draws closer. Morella.
Judy Trin in Ottawa. Straight ahead, a rude awakening for Regina homeowners.
When I looked at the car after the impact, the handbrake was up and there was tire marks, so I just thought he'd try to stop, but still went through a house.
The crash that turned a living room into a drive-thru. More than 100 people are dead and dozens missing following a landslide in one of southern India's most popular tourist destinations. Heavy rain in the state of Kerala triggered multiple landslides, cutting access off to several villages. Hundreds have been rescued, but many remain trapped in mud and debris. It looks like Microsoft has resolved issues it was having today and is now apologizing to all of those affected. Customers had trouble accessing the Azure platform. The issue started early in the morning and did affect Canadian clients. Microsoft says it looks like this may have been a cyber attack. Earlier this month, millions of computers crashed after a Microsoft software update triggered a massive global outage. A new study is suggesting anxiety can almost triple the risk of developing dementia. The research is the first to examine the link between anxiety and dementia over time.
Anxiety and other stressors can actually impact your brain's health by increasing levels of stress hormones, increasing levels of inflammation, and over the long term can injure brain cells.
Experts say this makes it clear how important it is to address anxiety early and consistently. More than 55 million people in the world have dementia, and that number is expected to more than double by 2050. This would induce anxiety. A Quebec woman came home to find 5 strangers swimming in her backyard pool. It turns out they rented the pool through an app, but the owner didn't post the listing.
There was people in our pool. First reaction clearly was, what are you doing here?
Marie Chaussee says the pool had been booked through a pool sharing app called Swimply. It's posted for $24 an hour. Chaussee believes it was the previous tenant who posted it, but now she's wondering if this was the first time strangers took a dip when she's not home, or if it will be the last. People in a Regina neighborhood woke up to an even bigger surprise when an out-of-control vehicle turned a homeowner's living room into a drive-thru.
The whole house shakes and I just hear a big bang. So we go out, my dad and I go out, and we just see a car parked right there.
The car crashed into the front of a home and plowed through a side wall before slamming into a parked car in a neighboring driveway. No one inside the home was hurt. The driver was treated for minor injuries. Police now investigating. So far, no charges have been laid. After the break, eyes on the skies.
I first seen the Northern Lights for my first time in May. That was the first time I ever seen them, so I became obsessed with it then.
How and when to catch a solar display. Canadians can catch some falling stars this week. There are 2 meteor showers happening. CTV's Garrett Berry tonight on what to expect.
Beautiful hints of purple and green lighting up the night sky and making romantics out of many.
So I literally stayed up until like 2 a.m. and went out for a walk and everything because I absolutely love the sky.
Even as far south as Wyoming, faint bits of beauty were spotted or photographed last night. And tonight, another show expected in places that don't normally get a glimpse.
I first seen the Northern Lights for my first time in May. That was the first time I ever seen them, so I became obsessed with it then.
This year, the sun is close to a solar maximum, meaning more activity, more solar flares, and more dazzling displays for us at home.
The sun, for whatever reason, every 11 years gets acne, for lack of a better word. It gets all these sunspots all over it. It's much like going through its puberty or something like that.
If that's not fun enough, there's also meteor showers. Some have already begun, and it will grow and grow until the main event, the Perseid, in mid-August.
And that has about 100 meteors you should be able to see per hour. So that one will be quite a bit more powerful, about 5 times more powerful to see.
What a year it's been with these shows and the solar eclipse.
It's felt like the longest year ever, in a good way, because it's been jam-packed with stuff.
The best shot at seeing this week's Northern Lights will be in western and northern parts of the country. And the expert advice, as always, is to get away from the noise and the light pollution of bigger cities.
Some cities that's easier to do than others. Toronto, it's an investment of time for sure, but if you live in Regina, you might have an easier time getting out into a field.
But maybe a worthy investment if you count yourself among those falling in love with the show in the sky. Garrett Berry, CTV News, St. John's.
That's a wrap of the day. Thanks for watching. Good night.
Canada's #1 newscast for excellence in journalism.
We begin tonight with breaking news.
CTV National News with Omar Sachedina, winner of the Canadian Screen Award for Best National Newscast. Watch weeknights at 11